Hello and welcome back. In today's video I thought we would do a pick and gut of this one, which is an Assa 700. An Assa 700 is a pretty serious lock, and this one here, as you can see at the top, has got grub screws in the top of it. Usually when you get locks, they come sealed up like this. What I did with this one a long time ago, this was the first one that I got actually, I punched out those little caps, put in some threads, and then I was able to put these grub screws in. And what that means is you can progressively pin this lock to learn it. I say they're pretty serious. They've got it's got a couple of Christmas trees, a couple of gin pins, and some tapered pins, and torpedo key pins. So yeah, it's very difficult to pick these straight off the bat. I know some people have done it, but I think realistically most of us have to progressively pin them. So you start off, perhaps you could just start off with one pin, learn to pick that, and then populate the second chamber. And what you do then is you progressively pin the lock, but what you do is also progressively learn that particular lock. Now with these ones we have to pick the tapered pins. Now the tapered pins are in position 3, 5 and 7. Once we get those, we drop into a slight false set, so we get a turn of the core, and then we need to bounce the Christmas tree and gym pins up out of the milling that are in the plug. I think for most people, picking a lock like this without progressive pinning it is pretty impractical. So yeah, I'd happily have it in my door. Anyway, so there's the key there. You can see the Assa 700s come with this really nice bow. No idea how old they are, but yeah, I think it's a pretty old lock. The other thing worth mentioning is on the back here, I've got this rubber grommet. So it just looks something like that, and what that does is it allows you to strip it apart without worrying about this horrible clip on the back. So the Assa 700s have got this really thick C-clip that you have to prise on and prise off, and it's just horrible. So an easy solution, especially when you're progressively pinning a lock, is to get one of these rubber O-rings on there, and of course that stops that plug coming out. Anyway, let's get this one in the vise and see if we can't get him picked. So first of all, we'll just check that the lock is working well, and you can see it turns freely. So first up, I'm going to put the top of the keyway in, and I'm going to go in with this deep flat hook from Jimmy Long's. So the first thing to do is to set all the tapered pins. Now I put my hook all the way to the back, tried to set pin 7 and pin 5, those two bind first in this particular lock. I'm going to put a tapered pin up there so you can see what it is we're dealing with. You can see both ends of the tapered pin have got a slightly reduced diameter. And what that means is that as you're picking, you pick it up, you get a sort of click, or you get a feel that it's set, but it won't quite be. You've got to keep nudging it up. And that's what I'm doing there, is just nudging those tapered pins up. Now, I know exactly when I've got those tapered pins up, because there'll be a very slight turn of the core, which is a full set, which we've just got now. This means that we're on to the second stage of this lock. So I've put a second tensioner in, and that gives me nice control of the core, and I can, as I'm lifting these Christmas tree pins, I can rotate the core to get them set. So on the screen there you can see the Christmas tree pin, and to set these they're done in 2 stages. So first of the 3 stages, you get the full set first of all, and then you have to bounce that middle ring just there through the milling. So the milling in the plug is like a little ledge which grabs on to that middle ring, and it also grabs on to the head of the gin and the Christmas tree pin, and also the gin pins. At this stage there's a lot of ping-ponging back and forth, and because I've got to counter rotate the plug with those 2 tension wrenches, what can happen if you counter rotate too far, which I think I've just done here, is that your full set drops, your tapered pins drop back down, and you kind of have to go back to that first stage. By the look of it, I've not done that yet. I can just see there's this little line, you can just see it on the edge of the plug just there, and I'm using that as a guide to let me know how much to counter rotate the plug as I'm trying to fight these Christmas tree pins up through the milling. Initially all I wanted to do is get that middle ring out the way, and then I've got to deal with the heads of these Christmas trees, but at the same time the gin pins that are in this lock will also engage, and I'll be fighting all 4 of the heads of those pins to pop them up through the milling. Just taking it really slowly now. What I'm doing is cycling through a couple of different picks. I think the gin pins in this particular lock are very, very high set. So I'm using this short hook just on the ledge on the left there. That just gives me a little bit more leverage and I can lift them up high to get them set. Still levering those pins up. They do take a fair bit of lifting up, and just feeling for the other pins. I think what the middle section of those Christmas tree pins are now through the milling. So what I'm doing is feeling for the other pins, for the heads of the Christmas tree pins and also the gins. So I'm going to put a little picture up on the screen now so you can see what those gin pins look like. So they're called gin pins because they resemble, in this orientation, a gin bottle or a spirit bowl. Of course the head of the gin is facing down as we're looking at, sort of facing down towards my pick. But they're very well designed, the gin pins and the Christmas tree pins. They bite really well into that milling, which I say is just a little ledge. And we've got to sort of slowly bounce them out, and quite often, unless you hit it perfect the first time, you'll set a couple of those gins, and then as you're setting the next ones you'll perhaps drop the pins that you've set in the first place. So it is a case of 2 steps forward and 1 step back, slowly getting closer to getting the lock open. Of course, if you counter rotate too far back with the 2 tensioners, you drop previously set pins, and if you drop those tapered pins, then we've got to go all the way back to stage 1 and yeah, just kind of start again with it. I think the pins in this lock work really well together. It's a great design, very well engineered, and what that means is, as far as pick and resistance go, it's very difficult to get this lock open. I should mention as well, there's also torpedo key pins in this lock, which are designed so that if you lift them too high, the top of the torpedo key pin will get stuck above the plug. If it gets stuck in that position, then you kind of have to reset almost everything and start again from the beginning. So yeah, real pain in the ass. I think I'm getting pretty close with this one now. I think it's just a couple of gins that I've got to push out the milling and we should be open. There we go, and we're open. Let's just zoom you out. So I think if all we had to rely on was pick resistance, then I would definitely have one of these locks in my door. So I think what we'll do is I'll just grab some tools and we can get this open, see what's inside. Yeah, I think it's a real game of ping pong with those gins and Christmas trees. And those tapered pins really do prove quite tricky. Right, I think what I'll do is because we've got these grub screws in it, I'll take them out from the top. Because this is quite a deep channel that you've got on here. And the tapered pins do tend to get stuck in and they tend to chew up the shims. So I think we'll do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that one there is the tapered pin. And yeah, below him we've got a nice torpedo pin. I think this one should be a gin pin. Yep. And a standard pin below that. I think here we've got another gin pin. Oh no, tapered, sorry. Yeah, tapered pin there, that's 5. And a standard pin below that one. So this should be, I think this one's a gin pin. Yeah, there you go, there's a gin pin there. And looks like another torpedo pin under that. Almost there, another 3 chambers. I think this one has got the more interesting pins in it. Which should be a Christmas tree pin. Oh no, sorry, there's a tapered again in there. And a standard underneath him. I think these first 2 are the ones with the Christmas tree pins because they're the ones that I kept on going back and forward from. To get them set, you have to kind of play ping pong with them really to get them set. Come on. Yeah, Christmas tree pin there. Under that one, another torpedo pin. And finally in the last chamber, there we go, another Christmas tree pin. And the final pin is a standard pin. So now I've got all of that empty, what I'm going to do is take this little rubber band off and open him up. Yeah, what tends to happen, because you've got that quite deep groove at the back there, these tapered pins especially, as you're sort of sliding it out, they do tend to sort of get stuck in there. And even if you put a shim in, you can see how, you know, my shims end up pretty chewed up. As you're sort of forcing it through those 3 tapered pins. Yeah, they tend to get pretty chewed up. So let's have a look what we've got in the plug here. So there's milling in 1, milling in 2, nothing in 3, milling in 4, nothing in 5, milling in 6 and nothing in 7. So 3, 5 and 7 are the ones that have the tapered pins in. So they don't need any milling, but of course that milling catches the gins and Christmas trees quite well. Bites onto there quite nicely. And of course with these Christmas tree pins, you've got the 2 levels of milling to get through. So you lift them up to there, you get that full set. And then we have to get that larger ring out of the milling, and then finally that very tip out of the milling. So yeah, super fun to pick, but it does take a while and a bit of practice. It did come in handy with this one particularly, that when I drilled out the top, I was able to progressively pin it and make it a bit easier. Anyway, thanks for watching today, and I will see you on the next one.